Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rhetoric. Berto Will is your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, how's everybody doing? Where is everybody, I guess is what I should be saying. But welcome aboard for the people that are here early. We have Eric Hayes in the house. We also have Lee Grant in the house from Montgomery County. Eric Hayes from Tascasita, Kingwood. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Alice Erin Dreams from Houston, Texas. We also have Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. And in the house, is there anybody else? I don't see anybody else. So we are awaiting your presence. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Let's see. Let's start with what Michael Rudnin has from the AP, which says Trump seeks to set aside his New York hush money guilty verdict after Supreme Court immunity ruling. Former President Donald Trump's lawyers have asked the New York judge who presided over his hush money trial to set aside his conviction and delay his sentences scheduled for next week. The letter to Judge Juan Merchan cited that U.S. Supreme Court's ruling early Monday on presidential immunity and asked the judge to delay Trump's sentencing while he weighs the High Court's decision on how it would influence the New York case, according to the letter obtained by the Associated Press. The lawyers argued that the Supreme Court's decision confirmed a position the defense raised earlier in that the prosecutor should have been precluded from introducing some evidence said to be constituted official presidential acts, according to the letter. In prior filings, Trump contended he is immune to prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during his tenure in office. His lawyers did not raise that as a defense in the hush money case, but they argued that some evidence, including Trump's social media posts about former lawyer Michael Cohen, comes from his time as president and should be excluded from the trial. It's amazing, right? Don't you think the Supreme Court knows what they're doing? I mean, this is a case not for the American people. This is a case that tries to really free Donald Trump from any repercussions from his evil, from his criminality, from his thuggery. Michael Rowland says the crimes committed were in the time frame while Trump was candidate Trump. The crimes committed allowed Trump to bamboozle the American people and become president in the first place. How does this make any sense? The evidence cited to be excluded was aggravated evidence demonstrating attempts to intimidate witnesses alongside a lack of remorse, which would normally be used to increase sentencing, to be clear. That evidence was all after the fact and has no bearing on Trump's guilty verdict, other than the judges tend to have a negative view of unrepentant criminals. For anyone wondering why the Supreme Court's decision was such a horror, you need look no further than the concept that Trump will now claim immunity for everything he's ever done, even that which was from the time in office. It's a shame. But you know what? Teflon Don? It's not Teflon Don. It's we choose people who are out there protecting him, but they're not really protecting Trump. They're protecting their interests. In Trump's thuggery, a lot of stuff gets through. All right, Eric says Tesla's global sales fell for a second straight quarter despite price cuts and low interest financing, another sign of a weakened demand for the company's products, electric vehicles overall. That's a false statement. That's a myopic statement, Mr. Hayes. While Tesla, the genius of Tesla, is doing terrible with sales of their electric vehicles, guess who is doing marvelous? China. So take that to the bank. He is no real marketer. He's no real great. I mean, what made Tesla great is we, the American taxpayers. Okay. So while many of you have been stupefied by who you think Musk is, Musk knows very little more than the silver spoon in his mouth and capitalism, nothing more. But he doesn't produce anything. He doesn't do anything. It's not him who created these great things. These are all great engineers that work in Tesla, that works in SpaceX. It's not Musk. Musk is just a person who is monopolizing on, you know what? On the well-being of others. All right, let's see what else we got here. Democrats like former president. I don't know if that's one worse for you. Nah. Okay. All right, Carl Cox. America is out of control, led by MAGA Republicans. No, America is not led by MAGA Republicans, my brother. We have to make sure they're not led by MAGA Republicans. MAGA media, well, that's Fox News, OAN, Newsmax. MAGA courts, well, that's the Supreme Court and all the lower level district courts that got appointments from the Federalist Society. Mega rich, mega corporations, I got you there. I got you back there. Also members of the Trump cult. Yes. All right, Strigen Bergen Krieg. Where are you from again, Strigen? Anyway, she says, if the SCOTUS decision means a President Trump can assassinate his political opposition, why can't Biden do the same? He can. But Democrats don't fight with the same fervor. So they would never, that wouldn't even cross their minds. Hell, it wouldn't cross my mind to assassinate anybody. I love people. Doesn't make any sense to me, right? But you're right. He could. If this really is about saving democracy, seems justified to me. Well, that you make a point there, Steingren. I mean, you kind of make a point. Maywood from Long Beach, California is in the house. Melanie Keelan, I welcomed already. All right, let's continue going down. Michael says, saying there is now nothing legally preventing Biden from black begging the six on Supreme Court. Oh, that's true. I didn't even look at it that way. Several senators and congressmen and others bringing them to the White House lawn and personally blowing their heads off. Other than a second civil war. That's true. That's true. That's true. Well, that seems extreme, but cut off the heads of for the sake would send the message. Oh God, Stygen. Okay, let's continue. Billy Allison Irwin says Teslas are all over Summerwood. I know, I see them. I imagine you mean Summerwood here, the town across from Kingwood. Mike Cisak says, Egberto, are you talking about the fake Chinese EV sales? Oh boy. Anything that you don't like, Mike Cisak, turns out to be fake. I get it. But all you need to do is drive around Shanghai and maybe Europe. You'll learn a lesson. But again, you guys don't believe in reading, so can't help you there. Let's see what else we get. Egberto, tariff 100% on all China cars. Yep. Put a tariff on the Chinese cars because that will help America, who fell behind because of right-wing folks who allowed themselves to be dummified and fall behind. So we've fallen behind, and to rectify falling behind what the corporations did to America, we're now going to tax Americans who could otherwise get a good Chinese car since our American workers were denied the ability to do it. That's smart capitalism. That is capitalism. But you know what, Eric? You're right. That is capitalism. It's a fraud. Gene Daigle says Tesla is made primarily in China. The creator of Tesla is no longer there, and Elon is just like Trump in that he just slaps his name on someone else's work. Gene Daigle, you nailed it. I've been saying that for such a long time. For Eric, International Energy Agency, almost 14 million new electric cars were registered globally in 2023, bringing their total number on the roads to 40 million, closely tracking the sales forecast from the 2023 edition of the Global EV Outlook. Electric car sales in 2023 were 3.5 million higher than in 2022, a 35% year-to-year increase. This is more than 6 times higher than in 2018, just 5 years earlier. In 2023, there were over 250,000 new registered per week, which is more than the annual total 2013 years. You see, so you guys can sit back and fool yourself. Other places are moving on. They know the future. Let the MAGA right-wing folks with their listening to those people who are fooling them and wanting them to burn these big, nice, great oil while everybody does otherwise. Oh, God. Our stupidity is going to kill our nation. All right, let's see. Lee Grant says leftists and Dems in disarray, and we are coming up to a convention. Throw Gaza, Palestine, et al., and there it'll be wild. Yeah, it'll be wild. But you know what? That means it's going to be active, and people are going to be out voting. I think it's going to be great. All right, Daigle says Biden will not because he has good character and integrity. True. All told, Trump's hair wire, then unlawful thing he thought about in his term, he can now implement knowing that he will face zero. But the good thing about it is, I think we get over our problems, and I don't think he wins. All right. Let's see. Alizarian Dream says, fake, he needs to expand horizons. Let's see what else we got. Bruce Pollard says, Japanese assembled in Kentucky. There you go, Bruce. How you doing, Bruce? Great to hear from you. Bruce is from Kingwood, Texas. Michael Ruddin says, Lee, a wild Democratic convention where Biden abdicates his run and chooses a successor is something we're looking for. And let's go to Brother Ray. Brother Ray, don't start talking yet. Let me go ahead and put you on the right speaker system. And you are now. How are you doing, Brother Ray? Talk to me.
I'm good, Brother Egberto. Just trying to stay hydrated in this heat. But I'm good though. Man, I'm just not you know what? The thing about the whole presidential immunity thing, it's so funny. I had a friend of mine, a lady friend of mine who's typically apolitical, by the way. But she asked me about it because she know I'm very pro-political. And I didn't even have an answer. I was just like, well, unfortunately, that's where we are now. You know, yeah. I don't have an answer. I mean, it's like this man literally has been crowned as a king. And I have one thing I will say before you do rebut.
Yes.
There are three choices in this election. And the three choices are Biden. And if the Democratic Party doesn't feel confident in Biden, the only other choice is Harris. And if you don't like Harris, the only other choice is fascism. And that's what I got to say on that.
Well, you know, let me tell you, Harris is, you know, people may want to say, are we talking about anointing her? I went and did some analysis and listened to what others said. She is the one that can actually keep the money that the campaign has raised thus far. So that is the choice the administration has. Unfortunately, I think the person that's holding a lot back right now, from what I've been reading now, is the president's wife. Okay, so that is an interesting thing. And actually, you know, the CNN poll finally came out. It's 49 Biden, 49 Trump, 43 Biden. And in other polls, Biden has dropped by 3 points or so. But guess what? Kamala Harris, 47, I think it's 47 Trump, 45 Kamala. And what that number is good for is once you see Trump drops to 47, it means he doesn't, that's likely his top. And Kamala not running yet at 45, her cap is probably much higher than Trump's. So I think that when we take a look at the analysis, you know, let me be frank. I like Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin is quick on his feet. But I think because of the different structure, both of them are quick on their feet. And I think the article that I wrote supported both of them. But I think the logical choice based on the mechanics is going to be Kamala Harris. Now, when it comes to the part of the Supreme Court that your friend who is normally apolitical and now understanding that the Supreme Court has anointed the presidency as king, that means we have to elect people who are not interested in being a king for their first election, and then changing that Supreme Court to remove their own given powers that they don't want. So I think that is what we have to do. So tell her that. Well, I'm going to play a piece that I did at KPFT this morning, where in effect I'm telling you. It's on you now. You know, when Hartman has done with his show every day. He says, "Tag, you are it." I have for me, it's on you now, folks. It's on us. We got to do it. And guess what, Ray? I am confident that we are going to do it. I talked about the Republicans haven't laid a path for a Democratic landslide. And then I also said only Democrats could screw that up. Let's see if they do the right thing. Ray, let me hear what you have to say before I jump to my video.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Democrats have had a history of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. But I hope Americans have finally woken up and figured out that this is our responsibility now, and we have to step up and understand that we're voting for our rights now. We're not voting for people. We're voting for our rights. So if the Democratic Party has any stake in trying to push this election forward, take the focus off Biden, just put the issues on the ballot.
There you go.
The Supreme Court is on the ballot. I guess what you would say, the sovereignty of our nation is on the ballot. All of that is on the ballot. So if you believe in everything that this country stands for, you'll vote for Biden. And I'll leave on that, brother.
Thank you, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day, okay? All right. Thank you for calling in, Ray.
All right.
All right, folks. What we got here? What else have we got here? We have Alzarin said, saying he needs to expand his horizons, referring to the caller that it was fake. Other countries have a lot of EVs. I know. And one of the things is we are so when it comes to America, we don't realize there's a whole lot out there. If you go to Shanghai, if you go to Xi'an, I'm talking about Chinese citizens. I've been to Xi'an, but Shanghai I have not been. You would be surprised of the technology. You go to Seoul, Korea. You go to Tokyo, Japan. There's a TikTok young lady that said, she says, if you think that this place is advanced, it's just because you're an American. And what it means, in effect, what they're saying is our corporatocracy has kept us so behind. We think we're ahead of everything. Well, some people are. A lot of the technology is built here, and we have enclaves of great technology and so forth. But we don't use it and expand it for the masses. That's why the subway in New York is horrendous. That's why we don't have bullet trains. That's why we don't have a lot of things that we could have if we decided to invest in America. But instead, we have the pilferers, the capitalists who take everything for themselves and leave very little for the rest. That's what it's all about. And once you have people like Eric Hayes and Mike Cisak being a mouthpiece for these guys, in other words, they don't have a pot to do what in, but at the same time, they're calling the Jesus's breaks for these rich people that is actually harming them, thinks very little about them, and look at them as nothing more than a step above a slave for themselves. But, what can I say? Hopefully, as more and more listen to our program, they will understand what's going on. But with further that, I want to talk about SCOTUS, and then we'll move on from there thereafter. Check this out. The rationale that the Supreme Court is using behind presidents' need immunity is that they need to be bold and not have to watch over their shoulders, having the fear that after they leave office, they will be prosecuted. Let's stop there for a minute. There has been 46 presidents in the United States. That has never been an issue. But also, if you believe in a constitutional democracy and the rule of law, it is okay if the other president tries to persecute the former president. I don't say they should, but they never really have. But it's okay if they should. They could. Because the fact of the matter is, if you believe in the laws of the land that we all have to follow, and then if that president does a frivolous attack on the previous presidency, it is clear that ultimately, like all of us who have to go face it in court, he or she would face it in court and it would be resolved. So it is bunk what the 6 Supreme Court justices are saying. But let me tell you a portion of that ruling that is even worse. It says that, by the way, the president on his personal stuff, even when in office, he can be tried. He can be tried on those issues. But the kicker is none of the things that he did under his official act, he can't. So if the evidence that we have has a genesis in acts that are considered official, then none of that can be used to prove the case. This is a Supreme Court capitulation to the current state of a failed former president and how to save said failed former president. Now, the question has to be, where does that take us going forward? It really means going forward that it is still in the hands of we, the people. I want you guys to get this here. It's in the hands of we, the people. But more importantly, if we are to maintain a democracy, we, the people, need to be educated, not by MSNBC, not by Fox News, not by any of these things, but go out and be educated and also use your common sense. Do you want to have a leader who has no checks and balances? I've stated for decades now that we are not a democracy. Some like to call us, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, we're a representative democracy. We are not even a representative democracy. We have never been. But it has worked to some extent because most of us were honorable. It had worked for most extent because most of us did the right thing. During the tribulations of this country, even as we had the most heinous acts in this country from its inception, whether that be slavery, whether that be genocide, whether that be any one of what the things we did commit, the internment of the Japanese, we have done some evil, bad things as a society. But when we did it, it was under the shadow of law. So yes, we had evil laws before, and we have corrected said evil laws, but it was done under a control system that no one really went rogue. When Andrew Jackson created the trail, that evil president created the Trail of Tears. When we went in the Black Mountains or whatever the hell that is called and went against all the treaties that we went by, there was always a way that we came back into law because there was that, in fact, law. There was a time the Supreme Court meant something. And this is not a liberal, this is not a right wing, this is not a conservative issue. This is a corruption issue. We have a corrupted Supreme Court, a Supreme Court that was placed there by the minority of the population of the United States, an uninformed population of the United States. That's what we have as our Supreme Court. Again, the justices on the Supreme Court, the people who made the transition to the majority, are there from less than half of the population. Again, I repeat, it is in your hands. It is incumbent on you to be educated. It is incumbent on you to be real. It is incumbent on you to understand that when you give unlimited power to anybody, any group, or whatever, ultimately it will come back and bite you. Can Joe Biden get Navy SEAL 6 and take out his main competitor right now? He could. And based on what the Supreme Court said, he couldn't be tried for it. As Sotomayor said, I want to read this portion of. I don't even need to go to Jackson here, but to Sotomayor. And it goes like this. In her dissent against the U.S. Supreme Court ruling Monday, liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor, and I don't know why they call her a liberal. She's not a liberal. I mean, she follow her rulings relative to to corporations, etc. She's a good person, but she's not the progressives that I would love to see on the Supreme Court. But she's there. Order the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. Immune, wrote Sotomayor. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power. Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon. Immune, 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 immune. This is not a liberal or conservative thing. This is not a progressive or conservative thing. This is a Supreme Court that is bought. And this is a Supreme Court that in effect gives the president ultimate authority over anything. Now the executive can be used. Let's give a perfect scenario here. The executive can be bribed by a major corporation to create an executive order to do something. Right now, we have a lot of people going to the Supreme Court every time the president passes an executive order. And this is going around Congress. I want to let people understand how serious this is. This is an executive order. Now they have the right, when the executive order is challenged as unconstitutional, they can go ahead and say, okay, let's take it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court then rules. Again, it's the imperial president. Nah, it's constitutional. And we're stuck. I mentioned about how Republicans understood that their policies could not garner the support of most Americans. And in so doing, what they had to do is find a legal way within the Constitution to execute the unpopular, the unwise, their evil deeds. And the way to do that is using the judiciary. The judiciary and the format of the judiciary was the biggest mistake made by the founders. For those who think the founders were infallible, it's not infallible when what occurred could occur. We have depended on people who were honorable to run this country. We never thought about what happens when the electorate was snuzzled, when the electorate was fooled into believing that charlatans were actually able, capable, should run a country. The second major flaw has to do with 2 states, 2 senators per state, which completely blows any form of true democracy. Those were flaws in the Constitution, and anybody wants to be honest about democracy. I don't care what the history tells you back then about state rights versus federal rights. It means nothing today. It means nothing today with the way we transition state by state. Nothing. It's an archaic system that allows that you have to have a supermajority of people being knowledgeable to prevent this country from going under. And I tell you what, Richard Haas said today, and this is not a progressive, this is not conservative, this is just a guy who loves the country, who served the country. Richard Haas is. He told every country in the world, prepare for a new America. Prepare for a new America, an America now that you cannot depend on. America now that has lost its way, an America now that is losing its values. And the only salvation is what has always been the salvation, and that is you. But it means an educated you, an educated you. It's high time to stop the BS. It's all high time to stop. Oh, but look at what the Trump. It goes beyond Trump now because of this ruling. It goes way beyond Trump. It goes way beyond Trump. It goes way beyond Trump. Anyway, Bruce Fowler says, let's hope the Democratic team will peak in October. They didn't show up last week. You know what? I think they'll do, how should I say this? I think a shakeup in our ticket is going to revitalize thing. And I think a shakeup is coming. I don't know. I was watching the president. Like I said, look, it's hard. Let me first read what our friend, our sister, Steigen Bergen King Greek says. I hope I said that right. Steigen Berger Greek. She says, we need to stop all this shade at Biden. We need to support him. The fascists are loving the infighting. This is an existential crisis for democracy. Let's just speak as one voice, the voice of reason. And that's what I hope I'm doing. I think, I saw the president today. He went out to FEMA, I think it was FEMA, to talk about the heat wave and all these other issues. And again, this is something that a president walks in. You don't have to give any prepared statement. You just go and talk to the people and kind of just give a few bullet points to folks. There was a complete teleprompter system set up. And even with the teleprompter system set up, I just continuously had my heart in my throat, saying, please don't give these guys a moment to clip. Please don't give these guys a moment to clip. I shouldn't have to be watching my preferred presidential candidate in July, early July, at a FEMA office, that or rather fearful that he's going to give a clippable moment for the right. I shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be there. There's something that at this point in time, I think we ought to get very serious about. And it's not about having the person's back or whatever. We're not Trumpists that you fall in line no matter even if you're being dragged to your death. We don't do that. So what I'm saying as respectfully as I can, Strigen, is that I do have Biden's back, and having Biden's back is to tell him we should not have the loss of our democracy on your back when there may have been options that do better. We want your legacy, President Biden, which is a great legacy. I don't have to agree with everything that you've done, but you have a great legacy. And in the latter parts of your life, as you became president of the United States, we were actually lucky to have you. And you have passed, Mr. President, more progressive legislation than any other president, bar none, other than probably Roosevelt. Hear me, RFK now. Roosevelt. So there's nothing here. I hope your handlers are not out there trying to let you, trying to hold on to a job, because sometimes it's as simple as that. They prop you up not for you, but for everybody else. All right, let's see. Let's continue here. Eric Hayes says, okay, first, Michael said, don't be shocked. Biden lost a lot of his voter base last debate. And again, you should have seen him in that moment at the FEMA. He just wasn't the Biden that we know. All right. Gene Daigo says, let's see, Eric Hayes, Trump had more drone strikes than Obama did. Another save of Trump's arose by the Supreme Court. I didn't check that out. Michael Rodriguez says, there be gold in them Black Hills. I know, right? Like the Lakota and other tribes. Our nation has a history of breaking treaties and indigenous people wherever resources are discovered. And that is the funny thing about it. We like laws until we need to break them. So the immigrants that are coming over to the United States, they're breaking the laws just like we broke the laws with the Lakotas, right? So, hey, I call it even. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let me scroll down, see if there's some more. Yep, there's some more. Bruce says Democrat worker, when people made a difference now in war or in peace, it does not. They do not. Well, gonna have to keep it up, Bruce. Progressive have been lying just to keep power. Yeah, Mike seems like you keep believing that. I don't think I can help you there. Alizarin Dream says, y'all hit like. Thank you, Alizarin. Please hit that like button. Let me see how many likes we got. We need the like buttons on YouTube as well as the like button on all our Facebook. So please start doing that, my dear brothers and sisters. Make sure that we actually get some performance on our stuff. Go ahead. If you're on Twitter as well, please go ahead and like our tweet. All right, let's see. AI will make us expendable. Well, yeah, eventually it's going to be a while. But I kind of like AI, that eventually, hey, but as far as new documents and all of that, you're always going to have to write the rights. Because I tell you what, the way, let me just give you guys, I put out between 4 and 5 blogs a day, sometimes 1, but most of the times at least 2 to 3. Actually, more than that, 4 at least. And what I do is I first make my video. I get the transcript of my video, and then I start to massage it with AI and other things just to go ahead and, clean things up. But it all comes from me. Now, there are people now that will go out there and they won't give a narrative. They won't present anything. They will go out there and they would say, AI, generate me a document that says X, Y, and Z and discusses X, Y, and Z. That isn't you, right? That is AI. So there are 2 different ways to use AI. You can use AI to correct your mistakes or to go ahead and be more referenceable, or you can use AI to write your stuff. You got to be very careful about that. I make sure and write my stuff. Well, I speak my stuff. I go ahead and I do my research. I go ahead and I talk into the camera. I get a transcript and I start working from that, right? A lot of newspapers now are not even doing that. Most of if you take a look at I think it's a Chronicle, it'll say partially generated by AI. And then you'd also see, but viewed by a journalist. And I sit down and I wonder, but wait a minute, who is the story? And what's making the story? And why is it not that the journalist is more direct? Again, you got to look at it in many ways. So, Bruce, I don't think AI used correctly won't make us expendable, because I don't think, if I want to speak about a particular issue that I saw in Kingwood, AI didn't see it. I did. And, I just interviewed Sam Osser, who's putting a workshop in for all of us to become a sort of citizen journalists. You should hear that on July 4th at KPFT. All right, let's see what else we got. Lee Grant says AI probably do a better than we could. AI is pretty good, but you know what? AI misses the feeling and the context. If I just ask AI to generate something for me, I would never like it, because it's not where my heart is, right? So you have to know how to use your tools. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael Rana says, Stygian, 13 circuit courts, there should be 13 Supreme Court justices, agreed, especially as Trump and McConnell stole Merrick Garland, agreed. There's nothing in the Constitution that requires 9 justices, agreed as well. All right, can someone explain, this is from Stygian, can someone explain how a Biden replacement is going to gain traction in the limited time left? This is insanity. No, Stygian. The insanity is to keep things the same and expect a different result. Patrick Lavelle, welcome to the program as a new member supporting our team. Thank you so kindly, my dear brother Patrick Lavelle, new supporter of Politics Done Right. On YouTube. Just go ahead and click join. Come on, guys, join just like Patrick did. You'll love it. Sajan, we can't allow fear to not have us do the right thing. Like I said, they've already started doing polls, and the polls of the younger replacement for Biden, are higher than Biden's polls, and Biden's polls are falling. We have to listen to what people are telling us. The Democratic base are only 33% of the voters. Again, I repeat, the Democratic base is only 33% of the voters. And guess what, my dear friend? A lot of them are not voting for Biden, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So I want you to reframe, if you can, in the mindset, and try to not panic from what's going on right now. I actually see. Let me tell you what I see, Strigen. I actually see an outswell of people saying, "Thank you, Brother Biden, for saving the country," and getting excited about putting a young person in there. We can make that happen. That is what we ought to do, in my humble opinion. Okay? So no fear, my sister Steigen. No fear. No fear. No fear. Tim Danahy says, I'm out of media touch. Has anybody in the right-wing media defended this decision? What was the basis? Actually, no. I haven't. And to put it bluntly, I just kind of touched on Fox News, Tim, and I haven't seen anybody just jump to the defense of immunity. When I say, I mean the absolute immunity is what I'm talking about. That's interesting. I probably need to look at Fox a bit more. I probably should do that. All right. Bruce says, the people who I consult see me as an unnecessary player, but I think I'm adding value. Maybe not enough. I know the situation. We need a president emeritus, a president as a cabinet member. Oh, I don't know if I understand that, Bruce. You may want to kind of expand on that for me, but I think I know what you're talking about, but I want to make sure I don't say it before I say it. All right, Lee Grant says Biden's biggest blunder was his accusation of sister-on-sister rape. Huh? Okay. Are you serious, my brother Lee Grant? Come on now. Alizarian Dream says they said that about computers. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got here. I'm almost there, folks. I'm almost there. I guess there's somebody who doesn't understand how to read charts. I strongly urge you to understand what the graphs mean. Remember what they said about statistics. But I'll leave that up to you. I'm not going to play the game. Read the graph again, I suggest. All right, continuing down. Steingraph says, the host has a slight accent. Where is he from? Steigen. I'm originally from Panama, Central America. And I came to the United States in the 1900s. No, I came to the United States in, I think, around 1980, in that time frame. And I became a full red-blooded American citizen. And I have decided I've always been politically active, including in the country from the time I came. So that's who I am. And that's why you detect a slight accent. Carl Cox says, Mike Cisak and Eric Hayes believe that Trump is the second coming of Christ because your cult leader, Trump, says it. Well, again, the good thing about it is that we have people, and I want people to understand this. We don't have to win everybody over. In fact, in my book, it's worth it how to talk to your right-wing relative friends and neighbors. I don't have to convince. We don't have to convince everybody. We just have to convince enough. Enough. That's all it takes. E2247, thank you for your statistics again. The toll has gone up. Day 270, 37,925 Palestinians killed. That is equivalent to 141 per day. 38% of those are kids and women. If that were the United States, that genocide would be equivalent to 7,819,418 American citizens. Sad. Sad. All right. Let's see. Bruce says the following. If we use AI that employs NY Times content, can they sue us too? You know, that is a very important subject. When I write an article, I write my words. I would then go ahead and I may get a quote from the New York Times and put that quote in my article and put a link to it. It's called, you know, we all link to each other based on level of trust. Would that be a plagiarism? If you don't cite your sources that you're using, yes. Otherwise, it is fair use. But I think a lot of AI is going to have to be resolved. Ray, talk to me.
Yes, Brother Egberto, I'm calling again because I wanted to actually highlight this morning. Brother brought up that, you know, the Democrats basically made this bed when they coalesced against Bernie Sanders in 2020.
Yes, they did.
Because if you remember, I mean, Bernie Sanders had something like, if you think about the French election, right? And what happened there with the right wing? The right wing had about, 30 something, whatever. I don't know. I'm just going off of the figures that you said. But long story short, if all of the centrists would not have coalesced together to open a lane for Biden to be able to win, and Bernie actually had a more competitive race going forward, I truly do believe that America would have seen what Bernie Sanders was and would have loved the idea of having someone like Bernie Sanders. But, again, to the age thing, Bernie is old too, but Bernie is a spry old man that is quick on his feet, that can stand there across from Trump and call him on his BS. So,
Ray,
again, this was the Democratic, before you jump in, the Democratic Party knew that they had someone that could have been the rock star for the party, but they wanted to go with the statist who's been there forever. I get it. But now here we are. He can barely put two sentences together, and you got the lunatic raving and ranting about nothing that he hasn't actually accomplished.
Let me just say this. Let me remind you, because I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders in Philadelphia. I was also the Bernie Sanders campaign called up a whole lot of us then, right? And I flew to Las Vegas. Never forgot. My buddy called me up and he said, "Egberto, I got you. We're going to Vegas. I have the hotel. You're going to be campaigning in the Latino community." So he called me up. He got me a ticket. He got the hotel room, and both of us flew to Las Vegas. And I spent 3 days in Las Vegas just before the Nevada primary. And the Nevada primary was not even close. Bernie Sanders cleaned everybody's clock in Nevada. And we were having this big party at a bar in Las Vegas and celebrating what we thought was, oh my God, he's actually going to win, because the momentum was there. The DNC panicked.
It was.
And by the time I flew home, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, all of them jumped out of the race and immediately endorsed Biden. Then came the person who gave him life, and that was what's his name in South Carolina, because he was going to the South Carolina thing, and he anointed Biden in South Carolina, and we came home and we were
Yeah,
like,
the
oh my
congressman.
God, right, Congressman Clyburn, and we came home
Clyburn.
and it was,
Clyburn.
yeah,
Yes.
and it was, oh my God, it's over, it's over, and we continued to try, but we knew it was over. And again, we did the good thing about it is most of the Bernie people sent me to the convention, right? But what I want to say is um, actually my Kingwood folks sent me. But here's what I want to say though. The reality is, all of us still went ahead and played ball because we put country before anything else. We put country first. That's why I gave my full support to Biden. We put country first. If you can look at the transitions on my articles on Daily Kos, the transition on my articles on my blog. No one can say we didn't play the game necessary to bring the best progressive together. And Biden didn't disappoint, really, because he got more progressive policies passed than any other president since Roosevelt. So I am happy with that. But that said, Bruce says it best. I want to read something from. Hold on a second, Ray. I want to read something from Bruce Pollard because he says it best. He said, "We don't need a new team, just a new driver. He needs to step aside like I did to let my wife drive. We get there, and I contribute value by navigating." And let me tell you, I don't think Bruce would mind me telling this story. Bruce has a condition that affects his mobility. Bruce is my brother from another mother here in Kingwood. He went to Netroots Nation last year with me. And let me just say, that is a mentality we have to have. The mentality that Bruce just laid out right there. Go ahead, Ray. I'm coming to a close, but give me your closer.
Yeah, it reminds me of a speech that I heard on
real quick, Ray.
HBO
Real
Hard
quick.
Knocks. It was the yeah, okay. So it was Marvin Lewis. He had just lost a bad football game, and he went into the team. He talked to the locker room, and he said, "Look, you better make up your mind and find out what you're gonna do. Okay, it's your team. Find a way to fix it. Reach down inside and be a freaking pro." And then in my paraphrase, I say, "Be a freaking American and do the right thing." You got
Thank
this,
you, brother.
Egberto. I'm gone.
Frank, thank you, brother. So that the case is this. I am going to support whatever we come up with as Democrats, and I'm going to try to get everybody to support that. But in the process of doing that, I am going to have to go through and think things through, and all of us should. My sister, I can't say her name right without reading, Stygen Bergen Creek, who is fearful about an infight. We don't want an infight. If we approach it correctly, there's no infight. But I will tell you something. Go ahead on YouTube and watch Biden's performance today at FEMA. That's all I'm going to say. Go look at it today. Ask the question if we can go the next 4 months. That's all I'm going to ask you. I could be wrong. I don't mind being wrong. Tomorrow, in fact, I think, or the day after, we're going to have brother Tim Danahy is going to come with some ideas and some statements as well. We're going to have a good conversation. By the way, Tim, I haven't gotten your information for our list or whatever we're talking, but we'll get it done. I want Biden to choose his successor, pretty much whoever will beat Trump. The only person I could think that could lose a second time is Hillary Clinton. All right, man. Anyway, folks, look, I love you guys. Thank you guys for being here with me. And we got it. It's on us. It's on us. I am not going to be fighting with anybody, nobody in my chat. Eric, CSAC, my right wingers, I love you guys too. I mean that from the depths of my heart. I just wish that you guys thought a little bit differently or expanded the way that you thought. I try to understand some of what you say. I promise you. I wish you would do the same because I know we would look at facts then, and then we could come out with logical conclusions. But anyway, I got to get out of here. But before I get out of here, I need to ask one favor. I want to ask you all to support the show. We are very, very behind. I'm still net negative, guys, but this is a passion because of what I said the rest of my life is going to be. This, moving us forward, educating. This is the goal. I'm saying if you think there's value here, please support our newsletter. Please consider becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. And to do that, just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Yes, there will be an Ask Egberto Anything this weekend as well, Eric Hayes. I hope you'll be there. I hope Mike Cisak shows up as well. And we have civil conversations there. We don't knock each other or anything like that. Eric comes and, the last time we actually had a balance, I think we had like 3 conservatives and 3 progressives. So, I would like to have more than 6 the next time. Last time, I think we only had 6. Sometimes we have 12. That, it depends. Anyhow, because it's face to face as well, by the way. So, folks, please support the program. First of all, you can find many different ways to support the program at politicsdoneright.com/support. What I'm pushing right now is the newsletter. I really want to get our newsletter up into the thousands. We only have 125 subscribers. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I need to multiply that by about 15 to 20. So please consider again, one more time, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. Thank you so kindly for being here. You know how I exit. Well, that's not the way I do it. I do it like this. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we